obviously we're so happy for you guys. We're rooting for you guys. And we were watching the episode and we were like, okay, obviously all the shit went down with Greg the week before. We're now seeing that again. But then we see your guys' love story and we're thrilled, we're crying, we're happy, we were cheering, we were applauding. And then
Kelly had tears.
Yeah,
Kelly cried.
I mean, Kelly Keegs was crying. It was emotional, and we were so happy for you guys. And then we feel like the episode took a big turn because then, Katie, you sat down with Greg, and everything was addressed there. And I'd like to know how both of you are feeling about this situation because I'm sure it's not easy for you, Katie, and I'm sure it's not easy for you, Blake. And now, I just want to know, Katie. Obviously, you were very, very upset with what happened with Greg, and rightfully so, even if you and Blake are in love. But did you take a lot of what the internet was saying into consideration when going off on Greg? Because I think what myself and a lot of people took from, because obviously we don't want to invalidate your feelings. Obviously, you're upset with what happened, and rightfully so, but it kind of just sounded like a lot of things that people were saying on the internet mixed with the gaslighting accusation. And that's thrown around so much lately that people are like, what even is the definition of that nowadays? So what was going through your mind when you kind of went off on Greg like that?
Yeah, what people actually don't realize is we filmed after the final rose a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So we had watched the finale right before going on to stage. So I was speaking to Greg in my own anger and emotions without any, I don't want to call it internet support, but the world hadn't seen this episode yet. And so it's very interesting because in that moment, I'm very angry. I watched it back. I'm like, oh, I'm looking at this differently. However, given the week that it did air and all these conversations started, I will say I probably would have approached AFR a little differently because there have been so many important conversations and even specialists talking about, what these different terms mean and what it means for relationships and communication. And, overall, I think what people need to take away is the conversations are starting. I think that's the bigger picture and how to apply it in your relationship going forward. But yeah, that's what After the Final Rose is for, is speaking your final thoughts to each other. That's what Greg and I did a few weeks ago when we recorded it. And I think it's safe to say we're both just ready to move forward and close that door.
Yeah, I think as viewers, we were ready to kind of close it also, which is why it was a little frustrating to watch the beautiful proposal and then have that happen right afterwards. But because I think that so many women may have seen relationships or their previous relationships within your story and your story with Greg, that it really, took on a life of its own, especially on the internet. And these, like we said, big words being thrown around, gaslighting, emotional abuser, really, really intense things. What have you kind of thought about how the internet has taken, and Bachelor Nation has taken that conversation?
I was not expecting the conversation to be so big that week. Even knowing what the episode looked like going into that Monday night, knowing how I personally felt, I didn't realize how many people were going to, like you said, either put themselves in that situation or relate to it. So it is a huge conversation. And again, I think the only thing I can really say is I'm glad we're talking about it. Mm-hmm. No matter how you view it, I think that's how people learn and grow, is by talking about it, seeing from different sides, different perspectives. And even myself, I've learned a lot this past week. And like I said, had I gone through this week and actually got to film the finale live with Greg, I think I definitely would have approached it just a little softer instead of like in the heat of the moment. However, I wanted to speak my own truth, and that's how I felt, in that moment with Greg.
Yeah, and Blake, obviously watching that probably is not easy because you see the passion behind Katie's eyes and her words and how she's feeling towards Greg. Is there, obviously you support her in everything she does, is there any part of you that was like a little bit nervous watching that back? Like, hey, it seemed like you really, really cared about Greg there.
No, I mean, she pre-warned me for everything, like every little thing, even going into watching that episode where Greg left. Like there was zero surprises. And that was one thing, is like how she handles it, right? And that's one thing I love about her. She's very direct. She just is decisive. She handles things on her own. So I was able to sit back. I didn't have to tell her much. Handle it the way you want to, and I'll be there to support you. But like, I don't know, that's one thing I love about her. And so nothing really surprised me. I'm a very confident guy. I don't have a lot of doubts. I didn't have it coming on the season. I never had it all the way through to this point. And so it's easy to like kind of sit back and like watch her manage all those things, knowing what we have now and like the love and support and all that shit. Like I don't care. Like, I really don't.
Yeah, so it's not phasing you.